Good morning. I am Dr. CHIDAMBARAM, Professor, Department of Electrical Engineering, ANNAMALAI University. Student friends, today's topic module relates with the industrial electrical systems, in which the various metering systems which are available present date, and what are all its uses, and what are all the various systems is being adopted widely, and what are all the benefits with the help of this metering system. To start with, the metering system is nothing but the process by means of which we can able to measure the various electrical quantities, especially for controlling, billing and planning purpose. This does not mean that not only just to give an idea about your whatever the energy delivered and what is the output of usage by the customer, not only that, but also they will give you a wide range of various plannings that can be adopted in order to enhance the power system, which we focus on two main things, the reliability and the quality. So, this is the main prime thing which normally the power system has to be ensured, and also the customer will try to, the consumer will try to like this also. So, the metering system is comprises of various components, especially the various metering equipment, voltage transformers, various modern meters, maybe digital or analog, whatever it is, modems and the communication network for transfer of various metered data. So, here there are several just a brief introduction about various meters which is being used. So, as we know, the standard kilowatt hour meter, we call it as energy meter. Normally, it has got its own advantage and own disadvantage also. So, main advantage is that is a technique is a state of art, and billing is fair and transparent, as far as it is being periodically recorded. As you are aware that once in 2 months we are going to they are going to bill. If a date exceeds 2 or 3 days, then the tariff level or the slab may differ. So, the cost involvement is a major issues normally focused by the consumers. So, this kind of meter, it may be the readings can be uncoupled from the tariff collection, provided the frequency of the reading taken is in a systematic manner. And the thing is that it going to allow the amount and the time related tariffs. That means you can have a, instead of the government, if you are going to have a different policies, that instead of once in a 2 months monthly basis it can have. So, only thing is that the reading is not an automated, so manual report has to be produced. So, major disadvantage is that the metering device has got a more cost involvement, and in case of late payment, the disconnection and also the reconnection is going to be a major issue. So, there is a reason that we are going for the second option is that the prepaid system with cards or coins, as similar to that of your the mobile prepaid and postpaid. You can also have this energy consumption can have be made available as a prepaid system. So, as the name prepaid, so it will be a fair and transparent. So, no meter reading is required. So, automatically it will try to reduce the cost involved, which has already prepaid. So, no overdues and no cost for disconnections, and this also ensures the ability to pay the variations. This is a main highlighted point in the prepaid system. But here also the disadvantages are very well able to understand. That is that main thing is the relative cost for the metering device. Second thing, even though this prepaid is a less forgery proof, it's another issue. And the thing is that the cost of recollection of the points or card or coins and selling the system cards is also a major issue. So, now focuses on the third one, which is also a current limiter or fuses. Obviously, as the name implies that this gives a simultaneous protection of against the overcurrent. The version is very simple and cheap also. No meter reading is required. And the thing is that the indirect power is a flat rate according to meter amperage. So, that means whenever it crosses a particular duration which the current flows, automatically it is going to trip off. So, main drawback is that it all depends upon the accuracy, main depends upon the circuit breaker, which will act as a load limiter. It may have fluctuations. So, depending upon the operation of your circuit breaker. Another drawback is that maybe the neighborhood consumer may have the same connection and may be able to use a different voltage. So, it is also issues. And second one is that the fault current circuit breakers is being used for tripping is available less than 1 ampere range. It is also a rare one, and the time of usage is not being considered. It is also less fair, because we do not know whether when the peak load condition is going to be there or when the base load is there. So, there is no such limitations involved in the time of usage, it is not considered. And also even though the melting fuses are available and cheap, but because of this reason that a person can easily be misused. So, even though when the tariff exceeds the limit, the fuse blows, anyone can able to tamper and they can able to refuse it. So, this is a drawback of this. So, go for another approach is that the flat rate, no meter involved, no limitations. That means that the consumers is going to agree that they are ready to share the payment. That means that the usage of the electricity may be different, differs between the connected parties, but here what happens is you have a one tariff for all. So, it is also unfair, because we do not know whether that consumer is of residential or industrial. So, this kind of setting will work out only if the limited rated power is reached. So, there is no discrepancy between whether a bulk consumer or a poor consumer. Main thing is one tariff for all. So, it is also not fair. So, main advantage is that very cheap. So, no metering is involved and no limiting device is there. So, mainly is being adapted in the rural areas for lighting systems, and it can be combined with various appliances and so on. So, as pointed out, the main disadvantage is that it provokes the wastage of energy, no initiatives for saving, and no load control or demand possibility, and can be mainly is unfair. And now, most of your power system has been restructured, and because of the restructured nature, a proper monitoring and control should be ensured. So, as previously pointed out that your metering system not only just to measure what is that power consumed, instead it should try to able to have a control over the various equipments involved. So, there is a reason now people have gone in for restructured power system. It is a different wide area, by means of which we have various monitoring system, and any violation has taken place. So, they have a either incentives or penalties imposed. So, based on that they have a various awareness about the various equipments to be used, especially we can say that Bureau of Energy Efficient Systems, people will not be aware of using it because of the more cost involvement when compared to conventional equipments. So, what they say is in a per year the number of units saved is this much. So, star rated, 2 star rated, 3 star, 5 star rated equipments, people are not aware because they say they focus only on the price involved. But the restructured power system as a one in which that the energy providers will have more competition involved. It does not mean that it is a monopoly, a single the government, maybe in Tamil Nadu we have a Tangetco and Transco, but in developed countries they have a problem that the transmission loss should not be more than 6%, but in India we are allowing around 20%, but in the year of 2005 when Delhi has experienced a transmission loss of about 50%. So, generation 100%, we say 50% is a transmission loss, then is a huge loss for the energy providers. So, there is a reason that a proper monitoring system has been ensured by the restructuring of the power system, and for that the main criteria is the monitoring, that is your smart meters will try to be involved, even though it is a electronic device which records the information about the electrical energy consumption and also the voltage levels and the current and mainly the power factor. So, it has got its own communication systems. So, that will try to enhance about the various two-way communications can be ensured. So, these meters with their associated equipments like your instrument transformers, communication modules, the main components that will involved in the monitoring and control of your electrical systems. So, normally it will try to record the energy real time or near real time, because the difference is that the instead of periodic, you can also have a periodic monitoring or regular monitoring. That is what real time and near real time differs. But we will try to report periodically, maybe a short interval throughout the day. That is what in the power system people will say that a day ahead market or hour ahead market. So, accordingly they will have a different kinds of billing and so on. So, as previously pointed out, your smart meter will have a two-way communication. One we call it as AMI, another one is AMR. So, the thing is, first thing is advanced metering infrastructure. It has got a two-way communication that gives the communication between the meter and the central system which is supplying. Another one is your AMI, that includes the hardware, software, communication systems, the consumer energy display may be in any form, and the controllers involved, and the consumer associated systems. Here another one, as I said, your automatic meter reading. This also ensures a two-way communication, but that between your meter and the consumer, meter and the supplier. So, maybe that they have the communication system may be wired or wireless and so on. Mainly this relates with your wireless. And here we have a time based pricing information is also available, and the demand response action can easily be adopted with the remote service that can be made use of your metering. So, thing is, the main aim for, as I previously pointed out, the main aim for this your metering system is to gives you more importance in ensuring the billing. As I previously pointed out, the manual reading error becomes a major issue or a dispute, maybe not only a dispute, but also a loss to the service providers. So, you may have a better thing that you can go for, either telemetry based or automatic meter reading technologies can be adopted. So, that try to adopt taking up the reading in a specified intervals, and this kind of meters can be calibrated either in case of watt hour, kilowatt hour or kilowatt ampere hour maybe. So, here the thing is some meters may also be able to measure the maximum power demand, the intervals of 15 to 30 minutes, especially to not to have the load a proper load management and the capacity charges. That is what I said, a day ahead market or hour ahead market will play a major role. So, another one is your time of day metering. This allows the electrical rates to be changed during the day according to the usage. Suppose that the consumer is going to use the power consumption during the peak period, the cost may be different. That means, high cost periods and off peak periods. Off peak period you can say consider as a low cost periods, and most of the countries they are following different tariffs in the daytime and also in night time studies, and most of the areas, some of the areas the meter will have a relay for demand response, which may gives rise to the load shedding during the peak load periods. So, in your houses we have a lighting load and power circuits. So, the power circuits may be governed by the service providers. So, they can say that whenever there is a essentiality of introducing load shedding, they will try to isolate your power circuit, but lighting circuit may be present. Right. Now, before fixing up the tariff, you should try to have a proper type of metering that has to be enhanced. So, there are main 4 categories of meters which is being used, indicating meters, or we have a integrating type. So, we will try to measure the instantaneous power or energy for quick monitoring and planning, as presently we have a electromechanical, this is your energy meters. Presently we have a digital meters are available. So, this digital meters will get to give you more idea about what is that maximum power that has been demanded at what time, at what date, and what are all the various levels of say voltage, current drawn, power factor, etc. So, all those information you can get from your indicating meters. Another classification is your revenue meters. So, this is the one which has got a high accuracy meter. It mainly it's used for measuring the energy consumed, mainly for billing purpose only, and this again, as I said, this may be useful for planning also, the load management also. You can have use of this your revenue meters. Another one is that we have meters used with SCADA, supervisory control and data acquisition systems, and this also capable of measuring the electrical quantities in a remote terminal manner, terminal units. So, you know that the measured quantities are being transmitted and displayed through various local computers or the dispatch computers for monitoring and control and planning, and the meters may be also be grouped according to their construction. That is what previously I mentioned, that electromechanical induction watt hour meter is an energy meter. So, previously it is being widely used, but presently because of the error involved, we have to often go in for calibrating that meters often. That is a huge issue or major issue. So, the display of your various power consumption through your LCD or LED displays through your electronic meters. So, here also you can able to record the various other parameters like loads, and also you can able to find out the maximum rate of usage of demands, voltages, power factors, reactive power used, etc. You can able to find out. So, it will try to support the time of day billing. That means, you have a recording the amount of energy used during the peak period and off peak periods. So, accordingly the tariff may able to fix up. So, now again as previously pointed out, the smart meters they play a major role, that we can say that the real time or near real time readings can be easily be adapted for billing purpose, not only for billing purpose, but also for future planning, etc. So, it uses up the communication technology, and the price setting agencies will try to fix up the different prices on the same day and also the seasonal. And we can say the other type of the smart meters uses the non intrusive load monitoring automatically, which is going to determine the number of appliances available in the residence and how much energy each takes up, and power factor also I can able to calculate, and when and at what time they have been using. So, all those information they can able to gather. So, another category is your telemetering system. So, your telemetering system and smart metering, whether it is different or, but your smart metering will have a automatic meter reading. Your telemetering system is also able to communicate automatically the various measured quantities with the help of your receiving equipment, the remote station obviously. Then you go for meter accuracy is a main concern to fix up the tariff. And the thing is that it is essential record to your energy consumed. Maybe not only that may not be sufficient, it may be required to have a meter accuracy is a major issue, maybe due to aging or due to various other factors. The meter accuracy may differ, and it should not create any kind of loss to the energy provider, and also the consumer should also be affected because of the meter accuracy. Meter is not properly calibrated, or if it is of prolonged use. So, proper monitoring has to be ensured in the reliability of the equipment. And they have said that in some jurisdiction the installed meter is permitted to underread 3.5% and to overread by 2.5%. And also, as previously, the tampering of the meter is also be a major issue. So, that has to be monitored in order to ensure both your service providers and also the consumers will not be affected by such kind of things, right. Now, we go for the tariff structure. What are the various tariff structure that can be being widely available in the present scenario. So, normally the tariff refers to the schedule of the rate or charges imposed on the consumption, taking into consideration of your generation involved transmission and distribution charges involved. So, main objective of this tariff is to try to recover the capital investment of the transmission, generation, transmission, distribution equipment. And thing is that the recovery of the various operating equipments and maintenance of the costs involving of the equipments and so on, and also the recovery of the various costs of the equipments involved in metering, billing, collection and related miscellaneous services. And not only that, it also try to have a satisfactory returns on the capital investment. So, this aims to distribute equally the cost of supplying the energy among the various classes of consumers. Now, we will try to look up the formation of the tariff. So, the tariff should not be uniform for all consumers, it should be a different based on the nature of the consumers. So, it has to be accorded whether the tariff provides a revenue, whether it meets out the all expenditure which has been used for producing and delivering energy. You should account for our future expansion, because we are not sure that this load is not is going to be an end, because day to day the load requirement is keep on changing. And the tariff should be very much simple and capable of easy explanation for the consumers. They should also aware. So, there is a main point in your smart metering also. So, the thing is that the consumer may have a direct interaction with the either a transmission company or distribution company or generating company. As I said, the two-way communication with the help of that. So, first thing, the consumer may be made to involve in the various scenarios of your energy transfer. So, they may be not only they should be notified whether the power shutdown is going to take place, but also they should try to involve that what is that any maintenance charge, additional charges or any kind of energy deficit, and how the ratification has been done, and because of that what is the cost involvement, so that the consumer may aware that they can able to minimize the power consumption which already they have. Suppose that you say a penalty is being imposed if they are violating the load. So, if that is the case, they have the consumer may have their awareness that when to use and when not to use. Anyhow, so a tariff should be to satisfy the consumer in all the categories, as I said, and during the off peak hours the consumers are being encouraged to use, because they during the peak time when they are going to, then when they are made to have allow, when you have the consumers they try to allow to draw more amount of energy. So, that may be a burden to the energy providers. So, they may have a different issues of giving encouraging the consumer to use only in the off peak period. They will try to if they sacrifice the power requirement, some kind of incentives can also be given, and the consumers are being penalized for poor power factor, because the power factor problem is also a major problem that this makes the current drawn of the equipment will be more. Now, the various types of tariff normally adopted, we call this the block rate tariff, the power factor tariff, two port tariff and flat rate tariff is a main concern. And here the power factor tariff, in which we have kilowatt kVA maximum demand tariff and kilowatt hour and kVARH tariff. So, block rate tariff is one is the most popular tariff is being adopted, and mainly concerned with the domestic as well as the small industry consumers. And the main thing is that, as the name implies, that the block rate of energy is being charged at a higher rate, and succeeded blocks of the energy have been charged progressively in a reduced manner. So, for example, first 30 units may be charged for 4 rupees, the next 50 rupees may be charged at a rate of 3.5 rupees per unit. Suppose that the consumption exceeds say 100 units, it may be charged still less, 3 rupees per unit. So, that means the main advantage is that the consumer may get some kind of incentives if they are going to use power consumed in a more manner. But main drawback is that because there is no limitations in that. So, if you are going to draw more amount of power, they be charged less, then it is a lack of measure of the consumer's demand. So, we may not be aware that when the demand is going to be more or so. So, second one is the power factor tariff. This is also main concerned with two main perspectives, as I said. The thing is now to have an increased efficiency, especially any generating plant or any plant should have a good diversity factor and good load factor. And the thing is the consumers are penalized for poor power factor if they are going to violate the following things. First thing is that they have a kVA maximum demand tariff. So, the thing is the maximum demand is a measure of kVA instead of kilowatt. So, that means the kilowatt is nothing but VI cos phi, and this encourages the consumers to operate their machines and the equipments at a improved power factor. So, low power factor will try to cause more demand charges. So, the consumer should also have an awareness about this. And second thing is that kilowatt hour and kVA hour tariff. So, in this is being measured and is being charged separately, and kVARH decreases with the increase in power factor, obviously we know. So, the consumers are again should be made to encourage to have an improvement in their operating power factor. So, another categories of tariff is your two-part tariff. So, here the total charges have been split up into two main things, that is fixed charges and running charges, and the fixed charges may be purely independent of the energy consumed and is proportional to the maximum demand. So, that means amount in rupees per kilowatt of maximum demand, and the running charges, second one as running charges will be made certain amount of kilowatt hour of the energy consumed. So, total charges is nothing but the two charges. So, this kind of tariff is mainly applicable for medium industry consumers, and the fixed charges will be accounted for the interest, depreciation of the capital cost, the taxes, the insurance, and the operating charges, which is independent of the energy supplied. So, the fixed charges varies with the variation in the maximum demand. So, main disadvantage of this is that the consumer has to pay for his fixed charges irrespective of the consumption. Suppose for example, if the industry is not working for a month or so, but the owner has to pay the fixed charges unnecessarily. So, instead another kind of tariff is the flat rate tariff. So, these are different types of consumers are different are being charged with a different rate. That means flat rate for lighting and fan is slightly higher than that of the power loads. So, most popular tariff this is, and the consumer can easily understand about the various tariff structure, and they have only thing is the calculation of the supplier end is very simple, that is the flat rate per unit and the energy consumed. So, main disadvantage is that you have separate meters are required for different types of supply, maybe domestic and for power you have different meters are required because the calculation is going to be different. So, various types of loads, it is difficult to derive the values of the load factor and diversity factor, and we try to compare the block rate tariff and the flat rate tariff based on the consumer's charges involved. So, previously the block rate, the first block will have a higher rate, successive blocks will be charged at a lower rate, but here the flat rate, the different types of consumers are charged at a different rates. And second category is the incentives. The consumers will try to get more incentives. So, the price reduction I can call it as a incentives for the for consuming more energy, but in the flat rate there is no such category. Main the advantage of going is that the flat rate you can easy to calculate, and in case of block rate it is a lack of measure of the consumer's demand. The consumer's demand may not be known, because the consumer may have their options to able to use the power handling equipments as they like, because when you go for a higher power consumption they get less amount of charges and so on. And the popular the block rate is popular in the domestic and commercial small scale industry consumers, and flat rate is most popular because of easy understanding of the tariff. And another concern is your time of day tariff, DOD. It is also called as time of usage or the time of day metering or seasonal time of day. So, the thing is that in this the consumer has to pay a less amount of cost during the non-peak periods and high rate for the peak periods. So, this kind of scheme involves dividing the day and also seasonal, the month, year into various tariff slots. So, this tariff is beneficial to the consumers and also the energy providers, because the consumer can have their own restriction in usage of their loads, and the energy suppliers they have their automatic load control. They can, if they wish, they can have the control over load shedding, or they can allow the consumers to consume more amount. So, it all they wish, their vision will, and according to the energy availability they can able to have, right. And especially they try to split up during summer, the peak period may be generally between 12 to 6 or up to 9 p.m. And in case of winter, the peak load period may be generally from 6 to 12 and 5 to 8 p.m. So, the tariff rates vary from place to place and region to region, and generally you can say the bulk consumers will try to adopt this kind of day of this one DOD type tariff. Now, the comparison between the 2-part tariff and 3-part tariff. So, main thing, the 2-part tariff is concerned with the fixed charges and the running charges, but in case of 3-part, and we have a fixed charges, semi fixed charges and running charges. The semi fixed charges will involve various specific reasons that can be imposed for adopting this semi fixed charges, and the dependency of the charges, mainly the 2-part tariff mainly concerned with the maximum demand, and the running cost mainly depends upon the number of unit consumed. And in case of 3-part, we have fixed charges mainly depends upon the interest, depreciation of the capital cost and so on. The semi fixed charges mainly depends upon the charges per kilowatt of the maximum demand, and your running cost mainly depends upon the energy consumed, as we have already seen. And mainly that 2-part or 3-part tariff will have the total charges is given by this the two main charges. One thing is the kilowatt of the energy consumed, the kilowatt hour of the energy consumed, and in case of 3-part, we have the amount of kilowatt of energy consumed, and the cost involved with the semi fixed charges and the running charges, running cost. So, all these grouped together as a total charges, and this completes, this module completes the brief introduction about the various metering systems involved, normally adopted presently, and